Welcome you now to another episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much for being here. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel. Support our work that we're doing, putting amazing stories for amazing Latinos, amazing human beings. They're doing amazing things in the community, as you know, from the different stories that we posted on our channel. So thank you very much. Today, we have a very familiar face, a person that's been here before. Today, she's just rolling solo. She's not her partner in crime or partner in goodness, not crime.
In business.
In business. She does a friend of the podcast, of course, because she's been here before. She's a mobile notary, online notary, tax servicer, bilingual notary, LSA, tax preparer, and wedding officiant. Efficient. I have a terrible time. Norma James in la casa. Hi, how you doing, Norma J?
So I'm actually Norma Mena now, legally married.
Okay, awesome. Norma Mena. Awesome. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. You've been doing different things recently. Been keeping up with you since the time you've been to the podcast and just moving forward. And I thought it was pretty cool. So let's talk about it a little bit.
Yep.
Awesome. But first, we're going to do the second segment. Almost the same questions. Okay. But I want to compare notes to see if it was the same answers or if you will get influence by my business partner. That happens.
Okay.
Okay. ¿Lista? Preguntas al Chile 2.0.
Preguntas al Chile.
Corn tortilla or flour tortilla?
Flour.
Why is it that the flour is something that you like more than the corn?
My husband got me into it.
Yeah?
Awesome.
Yeah. Does he know how to make them? Does he know anybody like his mom, his parents, or anybody?
I learned how to make them.
You learned how to make them? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Gorditas or pupusas?
Gorditas.
And what did you go to gordita?
With frijoles.
Just plain bean?
Plain bean. Hey. Bean and cheese.
Yeah, I like just the bean part too. Mexican coca or jarritos?
Coca.
Can you tell the difference between a regular Coke can compared to that? There's a difference, right?
There's a difference.
Absolutely.
Yep.
People think it's like a placebo, but it's not. Agua de horchata, Jamaica, tamarindo.
Jamaica.
When did you find that you like Jamaica more? What does it remind you whenever you drink Jamaica?
It's just good.
It's just good, refreshing. Jamaica and limonada mixed together.
Yes.
Super refreshing.
Yep.
Highly recommended. Salsa verde, salsa roja.
Verde.
Verde?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is your favorite salsa restaurant to go to get salsa verde? Do you have anyone in particular, or do you make your own?
Yeah, I make it, but sometimes when I'm in a rush, I go to La Michoacana. So.
Okay, tell me, because different people make a different way. Like for me, I like the raw ingredients for the salsa, right? Do you cook yours? Or do you make it just raw?
No, I boil them and then I put them in the blender.
If you never checked out her TikTok, she has some recipes there.
I'm not a chef, so don't come for me.
But she be getting down, though. She has a couple of nice recipes. You can make it really easy at home. Menudo or pozole?
Pozole.
Mm-hmm. Pozole verde, blanco, or rojo?
Verde y rojo.
Verde y rojo?
Yeah.
Awesome. Valentina, tapatio, or Cholula hot sauce? Cholula. Okay. Cumbia, salsa, or salsa dancing? Do you care for any dancing at all? Not no more?
No more.
Okay, cool. A conspiracy. We're going to touch on that one too. Okay. If you care, that's fine. I think some of the things that you talked about in your testimonials, I think people would feel like it's some kind of conspiracy. But let me just ask. A conspiracy theory that when you first heard, you're like, even though it's a conspiracy theory, it could be true. Mm-hmm. What would that be?
Conspiracy, you mean like everywhere? Or
any type of conspiracy that you heard before, whether it be the moon landing, Sasquatch, possessions, things like that. Nothing?
Okay. Not right now.
When you first hear the word Latino, Latina, I don't know if you're familiar with the term Latinx, what first comes to mind to you?
Hispanics.
Yeah. Okay. Hispanic month. That's the way we current the episode is getting ready to be launched for an entire month. So, Hispanic Heritage Month. So, Mes de la Hispanidad, de Herencia de la Hispanidad, o algo así más o menos. We're welcome to do it in Spanish también, así que if we want to speak Spanish on this episode,
I'm going to switch it up.
Todo el tiempo. Okay, so on our last episode, we talked a little bit about your journey, how you got started as far as the things that you're doing, right? But let me go back, just backtrack a little bit more. we talked about a little bit about how your parents got here to the States a little bit. Can you please remind me how is it that both your parents are from Mexico?
Oh, I am too.
You're from Mexico as well, correct?
So I came here first, and I'm not going to go into too much detail just for their privacy. But
of course.
they came later, and yeah.
So you're a baby. You were like 7 months old,
Yeah, I was
right?
like 7 months. Yeah.
Yeah. I shared mine before. I was like 11 years old.
Yeah.
I got crossed over with some other people's documents there. I was their kid. I'm a citizen now. Don't come for me.
We're legal.
I got my certificate. Come for me if you want to, but you're not going to like what comes out of my mouth. But so that's how they did us. They crossed us over with my grandpa, drove us all the way to the border, handed us to strangers, crossed over the river inner tube, ran under a fence to a restaurant, and then a hotel, and then flew to Dallas, and we ended up in the Dallas area, and then to where my parents were at, small town. So that's how mine. And I was 11 years old. I can remember.
That's crazy.
It was like a little naive Mexican kid, nothing about nothing. I thought everybody spoke English or Spanish.
Yeah.
Like redheaded person. The first time I ever seen a redheaded person, African American, all that. And I'm like, whoa, this is not my little pueblito no more. When did you realize? When you were growing up in school and everything, did you ever any of that came to play as far as like any racial tension or anything like that for you at all?
I don't think so, because I grew up in the hood.
So,
we're minorities. Of course, now it was something different where people tried to bully me because I'm little.
Gotcha.
But nunca me dejaba. So my mom always said, defend yourself, and I did.
Chiquita pero picosa at that time.
I will swing back.
Yes. What area did you grow up in? Dallas?
West Dallas.
West Dallas. Oh, West Dino has its own, has its history.
Westmoreland, Singleton.
So you have I seen all your testimonials. So anything that I'm going to ask, if you don't want me to touch about it, that's fine.
Okay.
I truly respect it. I just know because you put it out and I've seen it. So that's the reason why I asked. Okay. So when you were growing up at the time, your parents broke up at one time. And then at the time, is that something that you remember that was a challenge for you when you were growing up at that moment?
So when they split up, I was like 13 years old. So I kind of, I remembered, but I just didn't put too much mind to it because, you're a teenager, you're worried about school and other things.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so they split up when I was 13.
Gotcha. And then I remember you saying that your dad had a really hard time at one moment of time because he had struggled with a lot of stuff. You still to this day protect him because, that's your dad.
Yeah.
But during that time of the split, you decided to go with your dad more than your mom. Do you feel like your dad needed you more than your mom? There's a reason why?
Yeah. So I recently found out that something inside me told me to stay with him because I felt like he was going to be suicidal, like he was just going to end himself. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to touch too much into that because
absolutely.
That's them. But
absolutely.
Long story short, he wasn't doing too good. He fell into depression. He became an alcoholic. Well, he was always an alcoholic, but he kept drinking more now to the point where he couldn't really manage to take care of me. And I never told my mom because I was like, nope, she's going to take me away. And I'm the oldest one, so I felt like I had to protect my siblings. So, yeah.
So at 13, 14 years old is when you're dealing with all this at the time?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so another thing that you mentioned before, and it happens with our Latino culture, but I don't know how is it that you were able to surpass that with forgiveness whenever you mentioned that you were abused at one time or another.
Yeah.
Going through your process of healing and going through everything, I don't know if you ever mentioned anything about that person's forgiveness or who it was. A lot of the Latino culture, it's not just me. It's just everybody knows about it. We don't want to talk about it, but there's a lot of relatives or things like that happens, things like that. Did you ever surpass that as far as forgiveness for that particular person?
Now I did, now that I have Jesus in my life, because I used to hate that person. He molested me when I was a kid. I used to hate him so much, especially because the situation when my dad went to jail the last time, I talk about it in my testimony, how they gave him 20 years, but then he, half the sentence, so 10.
10 years.
My dad told that guy, or my cousin, to take the blame, that to give my dad the blame so that he could be free. And in my head, I'm like, well, wouldn't you think have a little bit of conscience of, be conscious of what you did to me? But fortunately, he did. My dad took the blame, so he stayed in jail for all those years, prison, not jail. And then he was set free. So I think that angered me even more to the point where I just my mind was not right. Mm-hmm. Just bad things, thoughts that would come to my head. But as I got closer to Christ, which is just, recent. This walk started in 2020, fully in 2021, all the way to now. It's when I fully let go. Like something in me was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. Forgiveness is a gift. It's not for them. It's for you.
Yeah.
And so I forgave him. With the grace of God, I was able to forgive him. But yeah, I'm not mad. I don't hold a resentment.
Awesome. That's amazing. Okay. So let's touch up a little bit on your career before we move on to the podcast and the things that you've been doing recently, and as far as the ministry and everything as you've been involved. So you get into taxes.
Yes.
How did you get into taxes once again? Remind me of the story and the officiant. Why officiant?
Well, the taxes, my friend, we saw that in the other episode.
Yeah.
So it was because of her still doing it. She's still a CPA, so if y'all need business taxes done, let me know. As far as wedding officiant, I love love.
Yeah, of course.
I love love. I think something triggered in me when my husband was hospitalized. So I'm like, oh no, I love this man. I don't want to lose him. So now I understand. And when I do weddings, when I officiate weddings, I actually give them advice that not many officiants do because I've been through some stuff already. So they usually love when I say that part. But
if you've never seen her, she posts a couple of clips. Not a lot, but I like the personality you give it. I like because everybody's nervous during that time, how you can break the ice with a small little joke and everybody's laughing and, embracing love for, one of the most significant things that's going to happen in people's lives, right, during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. So you decided to look into it and just start. What does it take? I know you have to get a certification, right?
Yeah, you have to. So me, it's a little bit different because still taking courses. I'm not going to talk too much about that either because it's still pending, but you have to take courses to become an officiant. You can easily get one online, but to me, it's more than that. So there's this website that gives you courses to become an officiant, which I'm actually doing funeral officiant now and, quinceañeras for blessings. So it's just more than just give me your money. I'm going to do the job,
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about the funeral. What made you want to expand from just doing weddings? Because again, I feel like you do a great job as far as what it takes to do an officiant and then take it to where serious, right? Not just for the money grab and move on to the next person.
Yeah. So I'm not charging for a funeral officiant. I'm doing that from my heart because I know what it's like. In my testimony, I talk about how in 2020, we lost a total of 5 family members back to back within 3 months.
Right.
So I know the grieving part. I know, I guess as someone who could understand them, but now is saved. Like now I have this crazy, immense, beautiful peace, right? So now that I have the peace, I want to be able to share on how to feel better, if you will, because the person's already gone, sadly.
Right.
So what's important is the ones that are still there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about the quinceañera ones? That one's often requested? Is it something?
Yeah, awesome. It was requested, which is why now I started doing it. I haven't offered it fully, but I'm willing to do that too. Yeah.
Okay, so mostly right now, pretty much by word that if anybody needs somebody for a quinceañera, that you're able to do something for them. Because they do have, like 2 Sundays ago, I was at a quinceañera and there was a gentleman that was, I don't know if he was a minister or whatever. He was a small little ceremony for the family, giving a couple words and things like that. So those get very personal too, because it's a very significant time for a young lady turning 15 and having the whole presentation and everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
How many have you done so far?
No, I haven't done any. That's what I'm going to because actually a friend, her daughter's having 15 and she messaged me. She's like, hey, can you do it? So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do a great job. Okay. So now you going through your spiritual journey, your journey as far as changing. You had a baptism at one time to clean everything that you had because you had been dealing with different things. We're talking about astral projection. We're talking about like not borderline possessed almost to different things like that. Can you tell me about those before you get into the journey where you actually got baptized to, be in a better place?
So, in Mexico siempre hacen brujería, all that stuff. The pueblito that we're from in Guerrero, my mom's uncle was very well known. Like people would go looking for him because he would heal and he would do all these things. He would smoke churrito. He would smoke a churrito and then just cover himself with the towel, from what my mom told me. And then within the smoke, he would start connecting with the dead, right? So, in the Bible, it talks about how when a demon leaves the house, which is a person, he goes back with 7 more and tries to go look for that house. Like I'm sure since he passed away, they were like jumping because it's a generational, oh, I cannot talk, generational curses. So when I was little, I remember being like 4 or 5 years old and my soul would leave my body, which a lot of people probably don't believe it if they don't know spiritual, but the ones that know spiritual, they're very aware. So yeah, I mean, I would remember like for a long time, I would practice trying to open the door in West Dallas and I just couldn't. And then finally one time I was able to, don't even know how. I was like, okay, maybe I'm like Casper. I could just boom. But no, I couldn't. Not yet because I was still new at this, right? But I finally learned how to get out and I would just run around the streets and I could see my parents sleeping. I could see the living room. Like it was weird. But as a kid, I'm like, okay, it's fun. But I also always had nightmares. I've always dreamt of like this black hole. I've always dreamt of demons and like all these weird things. Yeah. And we grew up Catholic, but I wasn't saved. You know, I didn't fully know Jesus or anything like that. So as I got older, nightmares were normal to me. I'm just like, okay, well, you know, I'll just get up. And then moving forward to, I believe it was 2017, that's when I almost got possessed. So it was a normal night and it was at 3:33 a.m., which now that I realize it's, you know, the demons are mocking the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which I didn't know. And I just remember seeing a black shadow, right, like on my right side. My husband was sleeping with me. But this time it was like an astral, kind of like an astral projection. I still can't describe it. I was already going to leave, but not really.
Were you frozen? Like one of those, what they call it, paralysis?
So sleep paralysis? I've had those before. This was different.
Okay.
And I just remember this evil, deep, scary laugh, and then boom, it went in. And I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything. And I guess like in my body, I was kind of freaking out. My husband turned on the light. He's like, hey, like, what's going on? My dog was going crazy because he sleeps with us. So he was like barking and I couldn't talk. And I was like crying, but I couldn't feel like, I felt like my soul was leaving, but it wasn't coming back this time. And so my husband just hugged me really tight. And I was like, okay, like I just need to get up. But it felt like, you know, when you daydream, that everything feels so fake.
Yeah.
It felt like that, but like me leaving. I still can't put it into words.
How long did it last, that event? It started at 3:33, and when did it stop?
So I didn't go to sleep till like 7 a.m.
So for about 4 hours or so.
I believe so. But it lasted throughout the whole day because my mom, so I still went to work. I didn't even really sleep, so I was scared. My husband was like, you need to go to sleep because you got to go to work. So I got up, I changed, but it was like, I was like a zombie, you know, just like changing. When I was at work, I was just like this. And I was like, I don't even know how to pray because at this time, like I'd just been doing my own thing, didn't care about God or anything. And I called my mom shaking and I felt cold and I felt weird. And I'm like, Mom, like I told her what happened. Like, you know, I explained to her, she said, pues dile a tu tía porque tu tía...
¿Es curandera?
Hace limpias.
Hace limpias.
So she does it with holy water and the huevos and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, which by the way, now I understand we weren't supposed to do that. Just turn to Jesus, right? But so she went that night and she told my mom that she was scared. She felt something very dark there. And she did the limpia. While she was doing the limpia, I felt chills all over my body. Like that thing was just leaving. Because she prays. So she prays when this happens. And my husband then ended up telling me that he was hugging me so tight, which I didn't even feel it because I was just scared. He was hugging me so tight because he felt like that thing was pushing him away from me. And my husband's a big boy, so, you know, he's kind of heavy. But he's like, I just wasn't scared. He wasn't worried about it.
So do you think as a kid, the things you were doing, was it like maybe a super vivid dream? No. Or do you think it was... How can you distinct the difference between you being in a dream and you literally living your body and moving around? And not only that, being able to... Nobody hear you, but still open the doors and be able to get out around your neighborhood. Because I remember you said you were... Try to stay within the neighborhood, not to go too far.
It's so hard to explain. I can't put it into words. Those that have done astral projection will tell you. But I can't put it into words. A dream, you could tell... that it's fake because you're like, oh, I'm dreaming. You know, even in your dream, there's a point where you're just like, oh, in the REM stage, let's say, where you're kind of awake, kind of asleep. You're like, oh, okay, well, this is a dream. But this is different. This time, it's like, I don't know. You just leave.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Are those things, as far as religion, I don't know what's your denomination. I don't know if
Yeah.
you said, what would you consider to be
Christian.
Christian?
Yeah.
Within Christianity, are those things something that is acceptable to be astral projecting and doing all that stuff?
No.
Yeah. But you can't help it though when you're a kid though. So how do you sort that out?
So it stopped now. But even moving forward, once that happened about me almost getting possessed, I still didn't learn my lesson. I started learning about the name astral projection, which I didn't even know. I started watching videos. I started hanging around with the wrong crowd. And I was getting taught how to become a medium. So I've always seen the dead. I still have videos that I took off. Like I could still see them from TikTok, but I took them off where I would see people that died, like the way that they were killed. And I made a video for this one person that it was on the news. I made the video and then I took it down because I'm like, no, I sent it to my friend and she's like, yeah, I wouldn't post it because, people are going to.
So how did you see those particular people? Did those things came to you as she comes to you trying to maybe seek some closure? And that's the reason why you helped her out?
So that was like a dream. That was like a dream. But I saw everything. I saw the couch. I saw the display way before even it came out on the news. And I was, when I woke up from that, I started writing down because at this point I was getting, becoming a medium. So I would write down what I would see, I would draw. And then I started Googling like this girl that passed away. Nothing came up. Days later, it showed up on the news. It showed up on TikTok. What happened? And I'm like, oh, this is the girl. I saw her. I saw her hair. So that happened quite a bit. People that have passed before, I would also dream them too. But it turns out that those are just demons that come to you, what we call familiar spirits. So it's the spiritual realm is just unknown to the eye, but once you start searching for it, you're just like, oh.
Okay. So in Christianity, those things also are not acceptable, but is it because you get those in kind of sort of like, because there's gifts that, people get, right? Different healing and different things there are, right? But those, could it be like a trickery of trying to make it seem like you can do something, but it's not really allowed to be done? Or how does that work?
So here's the thing. This is what I learned before I was saved.
Absolutely.
When I was hanging around with this witch, she was telling me, do not leave, which is astral projection, before doing like a little prayer or something. I didn't even have a relationship with God, but I wanted to learn more. She's like, don't leave, because if you leave, you could get trapped in that realm, which is a spiritual realm.
Okay.
My sister actually told me that now her husband, they've been Christian for the longest. So the dad said, because my sister deals with that too. So it wasn't just me, it was her at first. And then I guess it kind of stopped. But he told her that you could get stuck there. So you can get stuck there. This is why you don't want to mess with these things. Now, as far as like gifts, of course, through Christ, you can do gifts, but that's something that.
So if you was to get stuck in that realm, what would happen to your physical body? You will die?
Yeah, you're dead.
You die?
Yeah.
Okay. So they won't be able to respond back here anymore.
Yeah, you're gone.
Would it be considered kind of sort of, I don't know. I heard stuff, I hear stuff. I believe, because I know possessions are real. I know that happens. And I know that certain things I don't understand, but I ask questions just to figure out. So are they kind of like, would it be like the realm, spiritual realm, like people call it dimensions and things like that? Or is it way different? You
could look at it like that.
Okay.
I think when it comes to spiritual, we can't find words because it's not human.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of hard to put words into things.
And those things within Christianity are acceptable to be able to know that there's another realm, spiritual realm. And because remember you did another video about spiritual warfare and all that stuff that the churches really don't focus on, right?
No, a lot of churches don't. They don't want to talk about that.
What do you think is that?
I don't know.
To your best ability, as far as just analyzing everything that you know, everything that you study, because you're constantly studying the Bible, why do you feel like it's not something that they want to bring to the mainstream as far as the reason why they don't want to talk about it?
I think
because if it's a real deal, then and it's affecting people, then why wouldn't you want to say something about
maybe just to sugarcoat it, to water it down so that, people won't get scared, which is why I make videos that are very realistic. Because a lot of churches don't talk about that. I can't remember where. I think in the book of Matthew, Jesus talks about we don't fight against flesh and blood. I don't know if it's Jesus or Paul, something like that. Sorry, guys. But it talks about how we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against the evil spirits, which is true. And that's why you always have to focus on your faith and on your walk with Christ.
If you was to tell me any of these things and I didn't know anything that I've learned throughout my life, I would be freaking out about it. How is it that you are able to maintain cool, learn even if these things are around, that you're not able to be frightened at all?
Well, because I've been dealing with this since I was a kid.
Okay.
But as I got closer to Christ, I was always scared. That's the thing. Now I don't have fear, but I was always scared. Like even in the dark, that's the main thing. The devil loves it when you have fear, because that's how they scare you. So I've always felt things, heard things when I started reading my Bible, because you're dying to yourself, right? You're becoming new through Christ, which is very hard to explain to other people, but. Long story short, I was just giving up on smoking and drinking.
You can make the story longer. It's a podcast, so it's okay if you want to extend it a little bit more.
Okay, well, I stopped drinking and smoking because I started drinking when I was 15 or 16. So I've been drinking my whole life. I've been smoking. I'm not talking about tobacco. I'm just kidding. Don't do it.
The devil's lettuce. The devil's lettuce.
Cut it. But I stopped doing that and I started focusing on my Bible. While I was doing that, I felt like I was going crazy. I would see shadows. I would hear things falling. The music would turn on, which you would have to connect your phone and do all that. So I was in the laundry room. My husband was in the room, which is on the other side of the house. But I thought he was right there because I heard a clear voice that kind of sounded like him. And I forgot what he said, but it freaked me out. So I was like, what? What did you say? And he's like, I went to look for him. Like, he walked pretty fast. I went to the room and I was like, what did you say? He's like, I didn't say anything. I've been here. So
what do you think those things was happening? When you let go of all those things that are really not good for you, do you think they were getting attacked or trying to get your attention?
Well, that's the spiritual warfare. So they don't want you. They want you to be of the world. They want you to keep doing that stuff because they already have you. You already a lost soul. So now I'm changing. Now it's different. I just actually am about to upload this video. How when you're born again, you're a baby. You drink spiritual milk. You start all over. You have to reprogram your brain because it's so programmed to the world where now it's different. So that's the thing with me. And on top of that, it was the spiritual warfare. So this goes back to me being little. It's whatever, got passed down to me that I was fighting against now. So yeah, I felt like I was going crazy. At some point, I felt like I told Jesus, I'm like, look, if this is it, I don't want it. Just end me. Just take my life. I don't want to deal with it because it was a lot. I felt like I would hear voices all the time, just crazy. Is
that the times that I got real emotional at one time whenever you were talking about the first time you attended suicide and didn't happen? Was that during that time or even when you were even younger?
That's when I was younger. That was in my 20s. So the first time,
I remember you were on medication. You take all your medicine. You took it with a shot, and then you were hoping not to wake up.
Yeah, it wasn't a shot. It was me drinking the whole bottle.
The whole bottle.
I'm like, you know what? Today's gonna be my last day. That's it. But yeah, I woke up. At that point, I didn't understand it because I was in a toxic relationship, so I wasn't looking forward to waking up.
And what did you ask during that time? Whenever you got to wake up,
why am I here? Now I have to face my consequences with me waking up like this. Yeah. I was hungover. It hurt. But so I just didn't understand. I told God, why am I here? And
was there any message in that time, any whispers that you were able to recall?
Nothing. Very silent. Later on, when I tried to jump a bridge, I don't think I talked about that.
Talked about it with the homeless gentleman that you were trying to find.
Okay, so I did talk about it. He's the one that helped me. And to me, that's an angel because who takes the time to talk to you, to a stranger at that? And I was drunk at that time. I was drunk. But yeah, he told me his problems. He's like, look, it could be worse. And I'm like, no, you're right. So from there on, I stopped.
And this is from a homeless guy that doesn't have a guy. Takes pictures. Go ahead.
But so months later, this same homeless guy was in a bike. And he's like, hey, do you remember me? And I'm like, no, because I was drunk. I don't remember him. But he's like, well, it's me from the bridge. And I'm like, oh, I do. He's like, yeah, life is going good. Now I have a girlfriend. I have a job. I was so happy for him. But yeah, thanks to him, I'm here. And after that, I don't think I've tried anymore.
And you get to the point to where you're safe. Whenever you say you got baptized, was that the time where everything ended, or even after that you still had to kind of struggle and still, continue your process to be reborn again? As you were saying?
No, yeah, that's when it started. Worse. It got worse, and not that it started, it got worse because again, now it's like your flesh. So baptism is just a symbol. It's a symbol to the public saying, "Hey, I'm giving my life to Christ." You still have to do the work. A lot of people feel like, "Oh, I'm baptized, I'm going to be good now." No, you still have to do your part. So, but when I got baptized, that's actually when they started leaving. So I wasn't having nightmares anymore, which is the first time in years. I felt more at peace, and that's something that I never had because I've always had problems since I was a kid. So it was very. You
felt clean. You felt relieved. You felt all kinds of stuff that they don't belong to you anymore. That was a fresh start, kind of, right?
Yeah, it was a fresh start.
And then you start putting in more work, and not only that, but I don't know, you started the ministry first, or you began to work on the podcast. Which one came first? And the Bible study, I think it was all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, it's like I just took off and I never stopped. Yeah.
Why did you want to? I mean, podcasting sometimes is not the easiest thing, or even organizing people to get together and talk about different things like that.
God put it in my head, and I'm like, nope. I was disobedient for the longest. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to be quiet in my shell. Like I'm good. I'm saved. Just keep it there. I had a closing for real estate because loan signing agent. So there's this gentleman that he was actually a Christian too. And what I would do, so God would give me revealing to me what was going to happen. But then I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I would just sit on the couch and contemplate like, okay, if I do the ministry, how am I even going to do it? Like, what am I going to do? I don't know anything about this. I don't have any Christian friends. I don't know anything. And I would do that a lot. Almost every single day for some time. And
to make excuses to the fullest of your ability.
Yeah. And then once I met this guy at the closing, he's all like, "Oh, you have a gift." And I'm like, "What?" Looked at him kind of crazy, like, well, "Sir, I'm working." But he's like, "God has a message for you." And I'm like, "What?" He said to stop sitting on the couch, get up, and start that ministry. And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
You heard that message before. The same message, you heard it before from just thoughts, but now you heard it from
someone. Yeah, because the way that it works is like they, when we're obedient, like let's say this lady's just hungry with her kids, it starts tugging in your heart, like, hey, go help, go buy her food. That's the Holy Spirit. So you go, and she's been praying to God, like, hey, I need some food, provide for me. There goes that person. So we have to relay the message. So he was being obedient by telling me that message. And he's like, hey, I'm going to invite you this Saturday at Prayer Mountain, which is where I do the Bible studies. He's like, just come. And I went, and it was weird because remember, this is all new to me. And
so you don't go to church every so often here and there. You make it to a Catholic church?
No, I don't.
Not no more anymore. Okay, you grew up Catholic though.
I did,
but you haven't attended mass or any of those things for a long time.
I went to my cousin's wedding, if that counts. But I mean, I just went to show her support. But no, I don't go to a Catholic church anymore. Completely different after I studied the Bible. So I opened my eyes to a lot of things. But so back to that. Once I heard the message, once he told me that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just start it. I don't even know what I did. I can't remember, but I think I made a flyer for my first Bible study in November of last year. Only 3 people went, and I was kind of discouraged. I'm like, well, a lot of people didn't go, so I'm wasting my time.
But if you was to the club, was that on your birthday?
This is actually how we met.
I'm just kidding. Oh yeah.
If those that don't know, we met at the nightclub. I used to work at a nightclub for some time, and
she used to not let me in anytime. She was like, what are you doing? Get the promoter. Okay. I'm just kidding. I met her at the club, and she was a door girl at that time. You had been doing bartending, waitress, bartender, and then door girl. I think it was the last stop that you were at. So many times I went over and I was trying to make the rapping game, trying to be famous, and she was always at the door. Nope, where you going? $20, $15, whatever.
I was just doing my job, guys.
Hey, I feel it too. But you know what? Here you go. But I always get the promoter. Hey, what's up, brother? What's up? But that's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Many years ago. Years and years ago.
I started working at nightclubs when I was 18.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so you get a little bit discouraged. You put a flyer with all the hopes in the world because you were given the message. 3 people show up, but 3 people did show up though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me about it. How'd it go? How'd the whole process?
It was good.
It was good?
It was good.
So the people that need to be there were there at that time.
Yeah, because where 2 or more are gathered, he's in the midst. But anyways, I felt discouraged because I was still what you call a baby Christian. So then I didn't do it for months. And then I think come February, if I'm not mistaken, February, March, I got the message again like, hey, do it. And I'm like, okay. And I just started messing with Photoshop. I started thinking about names. And I'm like, I was telling my friend, what do you think about this name? What do you think about this name? And that's how I was able to find Señoritas with Cristo. I made the logo. I'm like, okay, I'm going to just make a Facebook group. And I just started just going. And yeah.
How many names do you go through before you actually realize Señoritas with Cristo is the one that you want to go with?
I don't know. Like
plenty? 3?
3 maybe?
You don't remember all of them at all?
I don't remember. I'm telling you, like, I don't remember a lot of things.
I like the way it sounds, Señoritas with Cristo.
Yeah.
I like the ring. I like the whole concept of everything. So you begin making the group. You got the logo, and now you're starting to. And when does the development of the podcast come to be? And why? Is it you get the same messaging that you need expand a different reach maybe that people can share their stories, a space, a platform?
So the message was that I am going to be in front of a lot of people. I'm going to be in front of thousands of people. I don't get it because I'm like, not me. I'm going to, this is not for me, by the way. It's to reach to many people in different countries. And I still don't know how that's coming about, but I have met people from different states that they're like, hey, we know about your podcast, or hey, we know about the Facebook group. So it's cool to see it, but
how many members you have right now? I think it was like 200, 300 or more members.
It's 237 in the Facebook group. Okay. Yeah, which is not really about the number. It's you.
No, but I'm saying you started with 0, but people are finding you from different places. Yeah, so
and just within
things
a year,
are starting to form and develop as far as you've been told that's going to happen. Yeah. Right. Okay, so you decide to finally do the podcast. And again, remind me again, why is it that you want to do that? Is that because of the same messaging?
Yeah, to relate. Because a lot of women, especially in the Hispanic community, it's like, keep it under the rug. Whatever you go through, just don't say anything. Just suck it up. And when I first came out, I'm like, okay, well, more women need to talk about it. More women need to hear it, because then they will be like, okay, well, I'm not alone. Or, this just didn't happen to me. So
yeah, I like the way that you structure. First of all, you started off as an example for giving your testimony first, and some of the things we talked about here. But then I like the way you just do an introduction and let the ladies talk about whatever it is that they had. Yeah, and just either whether dramatic things, very strong stuff. It's not like you said. It's not for kids. Yeah, because you go into people go into some of the very personal things that happen to them, and I'm glad that they're in a better place. But how does it? Psychiatrists or different people like that take studies, or maybe they get some help, right? Where do you decompress and kind of sort of not let you affect you so much? It's beautiful that they're sharing their stories, that hopefully they can touch other people. Yeah. They're going through that. But how is it that you are able to listen to it and not be so affected? Because some of these things are pretty traumatic.
Yeah. I actually cry while they're sharing the testimony because I just mute myself. So I still feel it. I still cry when they start talking about stuff. Like the recent podcast, My Sister in Christ, she talks about how she went to the hospital a couple of times because her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend beat her really bad. So I still cry, but I would say Jesus is the one that just gets me back to Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so far you have launched. Are you doing it? How often are you putting episodes? Because I've seen different times. Once a month, every so often. So I don't have a schedule.
You have a schedule? I
just reach out to the ladies. I make sure that I make sure that they're fully saved, because one could share their testimony and not be fully saved, and
Okay, so how is it that you're finding these ladies are willing to reach out to you, and how kind of sort of one determines if they're safe or not?
So they're in the group. And I actually have a form on the website that they have to answer the questions, and we go from there.
Okay. And then after that, no schedule, just whenever you get the testimony, then you start doing it.
Yes.
How do you feel to do the first episode and be on camera? How do you feel for you? You've seen yourself before on camera.
I've seen myself before. You mean
as
like
far as
for
just
my testimony?
For your testimony, yeah.
I was nervous because I'm like, oh man, I'm putting out my whole business out there. I don't want people to know what I've been through. I don't want them to feel sorry for me, but I just did it.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Did you feel any relief at all whatsoever that you were able to get through? Again, it's almost like an example. I'm not going to just put people's testimony. I'm going to put myself out there, be a little bit vulnerable to share my story. Not that I'm a saint or whatever, but I had these battles, but I did it. And now you invite all these ladies that after you kind of sort of see that they're heading the right direction, then you invite them in.
Yeah. It's life-changing. It really is, because you hear their stories firsthand before anyone. And remember, I'm the one that edits, so I hear everything over and over again sometimes. But it's touching, and for them to be bold enough to share that out there, it means a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there one that touched you more than the other? Like whenever you were sharing yours, I'm telling you, I did got teary-eyed on that part where the first time that you attempted something. Yeah. And I was like, dang. I was driving. I'm like, dang. It hit me. Yeah. But it was beautiful that you're here and then you're doing the work that you're doing. So I thought it was awesome. Yeah. So is there a particular story that touched you a little bit more than the other one so far? Because all of them are, again, as you mentioned, very, very personal. Anyone that stands up in your mind right now? And that has helped you, even though you're doing the things you're doing, sometimes you still need a little bit of encouragement, right? Yeah. Any of them?
I feel like I'm grateful with all of them. I don't have a favorite per se, but no, I'm very grateful with all of them because they all have not bad testimonies, but bad things happen to them where they turn to God. So yeah.
Awesome. All episodes are my favorite episodes, by the way, too.
He lying.
I'm kidding. No, they really are. Okay, so who is you send me some questions, and I love whenever you send me some questions you want to talk about, because I want to make sure not just have a conversation with you, but I have a hair on my thingy. But I want to talk about the things that you want to talk about. So the question you sent to me is, who is Jesus to you?
Yeah, so Jesus is my everything. He's my Lord and Savior. He's the Lord of Lords and King of Kings, the Alpha and the Omega and everything in between. He changed me. If you were to see me when I was drinking, you would be like, who is this girl? So yeah, he changed me. If I can add this, for my cousin's wedding, I used to love drinking, by the way. I'm talking about chugging bottles by myself.
You're a little body,
and
too.
I'm a little body, but I used to compete with the guys. One of the guys that I used to drink with when I was, in my teenage years, he saw me. He's like, ya me dijeron que eres cristiana. I'm like, sí soy, like proudly, right? And he's like, no, that's good. And he's like, I never thought that you were going to get married because of the way that I used to act. But he told me, I'm proud of you, because he saw the change. So that, to me, means a lot, because that means that I am new.
Yeah. It's so weird sometimes, right? Because I don't know if there's anybody, probably there's always a one or two individuals that, because you're being Christian, you're doing the right thing, wanting to do the right thing for you, that because they knew who you were before, they feel like you're still that one person that was back then. And they're always trying to make those little snarky comments that are like, this and that. How do you deal with those people?
People are always going to talk.
Yeah.
I don't really pay much attention to it. People are always going to make fun of me, and that's okay. I know what comes with this. I know what I signed up for, so I really don't care. I'll pray for them.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is always like, I remember you used to be like,
yes.
And? Like, if you're not willing to change, you're still the same way. You're the one with the problem. You got to be evolving from away from that, who you used to be, and try to grow and be somebody better, And how to study your Bible is one of them. First of all, let's before we get into that question, the Bible studies. How often are you holding them, and how many people are attending now at this time?
So it's every other Saturday. It depends. Sometimes it's 20 plus women. Sometimes it's 7. Sometimes it's 5. It's whoever could come. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we break down the Bible because a lot of people just know surface level. We dive in.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, now how do you study the Bible?
So The Bible could be very confusing to people. I actually have a PDF file on my website explaining everything, and it breaks down the Bible. So there's the Old Testament way before Jesus' time, and then the New Testament. Old Testament talks about the Anointed One, the Messiah coming, and then the New Testament talks about the Messiah coming. So Jesus, he was just a regular man. Like people, the Israelites thought that there was going to be someone that's going to fight for them. Mm-hmm. So when Jesus came, he was a regular dude. They're like, where's the Messiah? Where's the one that's going to wage war? Where's the one that's going to do all these things? But instead, he's like, hey, I'm a servant, and I want y'all to be servants too to others. But the New Testament talks about the first four Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, John, and Luke. And then that breaks down what Jesus did. And then the rest of them are just apostles talking about what's to come. And then right now we're actually studying the book of Revelation, which is the last days.
So, okay, one more time. How is it that one breaks down the studying part? Break it down for verse, for articles. How is it that one gets it and kind of sits on it, meditate? I don't know exactly what it is that you do after you have kind of sort of have a discussion about what could it be or what it is.
So I told them to read before we even study, because when we study, we dive in. There's this app that we use, which is a Logos Bible app. It shows you Hebrew words and Greek words, and then it explains to you what it meant, because that was near ancient East time, which we didn't live back then. So we try to break it down here in the U.S. We're just like, what? That makes no sense. But when you study it, you start seeing what it actually meant back then and what it means now.
Okay. All right. So even to the point of the translation part, not only just because they was translated at one point and now this is what it is, but even further than that.
Yes. So that app shows you the words in Hebrew and Greek, because in the Old Testament, if I'm not mistaken, it was all Hebrew, and then Greek was the New Testament. Okay. Which Jesus actually spoke Aramaic, but the people that wrote it, it was in Greek.
But it's amazing. 3 people were the first one to keep it going. Almost how long you been doing the ministry now, the study Bible for long? About a year or something? Or longer than that?
No, I mean, it started in February.
So a
couple months.
Yeah. To 20 people sometimes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. What is it that you get out of it whenever the Bible study is over and everybody's getting to their leaving and everything else for you, whenever you're sitting by yourself and like, as far as the things that you got to discuss?
I mean, I just thank the Lord for giving me wisdom, because the things that come out of my mouth, I usually pray before I even talk, and I'm like, hey, use me as your vessel, speak through me. And just the way that I say things, people are always telling me like, hey, the way that you relay the message or the way that you study the Bible, like it really clicks for me. And that's all I look forward to, because it's not about me. It's about everyone else. Jesus said, go make disciples of all nations. So that's what I want to equip these ladies with, so that they can go and do the same.
Okay. Is there, I don't want to get too political at times, but you can't help it but to be, because sometimes it's a part of the topical conversation for it. But as far as you feeling like there's any type of attack towards Christianity or anything like that, knowing that here in the U.S., either you could choose to have a religion or not have a religion. It's up to your discretion. And then there's millions of Christians, there's millions of Muslims, there's millions of Catholics, all that. With you, does it matter at all as far as that discussion, or anybody? Do you feel any attacks or anything like that as far as for you personally, or not necessarily? You just focus on the work that you're doing. Like as far as people attacking Christianity, do you feel like...
I don't pay attention to it. I don't, because like I said, people are always going to talk. That's with anything. You could be eating soup and they'd be like, why is he eating it like that? People love to argue. So no, I don't pay attention to it. As far as being in the U.S., we actually have the privilege of choosing whatever we want to choose, because in other countries, there's this YouTube account called De La Fe Testimonies. People from other countries, like this gentleman, he went to Thailand and he interviewed with the people there, and they talk about how people could be persecuted in their countries. So here we're good, and people take that for granted. And that's with everything, like poverty in other countries too. Yeah,
absolutely. That's true. All right. Sorry about that. I've been dealing with throat things. I think we're running short on time. Was there anything on your drive over here that even though you sent me the questions, we're like, man, I wish he really talks about this, or I wish he really brings this up during our interview?
No, anything? I was like, this cart needs to get out of my way. I'm just kidding.
Because I need to make it.
No, I was running late. But no, I'm good. I think I answered most of the questions.
Yeah, I appreciate one thing about being a veteran and doing that is that people are entitled to feel, do, change, have amazing experience with religion, with not religion, to be able to make the community better, make people better.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing amazing work as far as like the reason why you begin doing is your journey through hardship, very, very hard stuff, to be able to now encourage young ladies to be able to do the same thing. And because I think even though you have things that go hard for you, once you're able to talk freely about them, you liberate yourself a little bit from it, away from it, right?
Yeah, and then another thing I want to say is, although Christianity is a religion, it's more so focusing on a relationship with God, because that's not what a lot of us are taught. We're just like, oh, we'll pray and do all these things. Yeah. But no, having a relationship, I know my mom was telling me last time how she still goes to the Catholic church. She said that when she goes to the church, she feels this peace. It's like she can't explain it. And I'm like, Mom, I feel that peace every day. Yeah. And it's because of their relationship.
Got you. Awesome. Amazing. Before I let you go real quickly, all your social media, any events, anything, projects that you have together with Señoritas with Cristo that you got coming up soon?
Yes, but more to come, because we're going to have a worship fest, like a worship thing, but more to come. I still need to get the details for that. So,
but you're planning on something here in the near future.
October, and then Bible study is next week, Saturday.
Every Saturday. Well, it's going to be a few weeks before it comes, but every Saturday.
Every other Saturday.
Every other Saturday, I'm sorry. Yeah. We're going to put the website.
Okay.
Señoritaswithcristo.com. So where you can find all the information, all the updates that you do and things like that. You keep a schedule there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where you need to go. So social media, where can they follow so they can hear more of the testimonials, everything else? Yeah. And I'm going to put all of them on the
YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. It's Señoritas with Cristo. And website too, TikTok, Señoritas with Cristo. That. The TikTok.
It's .com, right? It is .com.
The website, yes. But TikTok is just Señoritas with Cristo. Also on Facebook.
Everything. Any shout out, saludos, anybody you want to send anybody particular that touched you, of course, your loved ones?
My family, my husband, of course, and my sisters in Christ.
Awesome. And what is an important lesson that you learn going through your journey of being saved that you will tell your younger self that will help somebody else out? What would that be?
It's going to be okay. And he hears you cry. He sees your pain, and he's there. Awesome.
I don't know if I asked this question or not, but I just want to retouch it to see maybe there's something changed from that time we last talked to this time. I say something along the lines, I'm not immortal, I am mortal, and I will die one day. Yeah. And to get it from me, a religious person is more of a yogi type of person. But I liked it.
Well, we're all going to die, though.
We are going to die. Absolutely.
We're all going to die.
We're all going to go bye-bye. Just a matter of time. But it makes me want to hurry up and do things. So it makes me realize I know I'm not here forever in a day, right? Yeah. But whatever I can do immediately, as soon as possible to get the most out of it, that's the reason why I kind of remind myself of it, right? Because we are. With that, I wish you a long, prosperous life. But after everything's said and done, what do you want people to think and feel about your life?
I would say if she could do it, I could too. As far as like everything that happened to me and me turning to Christ, they have a chance to.
Gotcha. That's amazing. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's a pleasure. It's crazy how we just get to meet in the club. We don't even know each other, talk like that. Then still follow each other on social media. Somehow we start getting connected. I reached out because I know that you have a lot of knowledge in regards to taxes and everything else that you do. I feel like you do a great job. Not only that, but informing yourself about it, right? And try to do the best job possible. Not because of the bottom line or because it pays you. Of course, it's important to provide for your family. But I feel that you put an extra into the things that you do with taxes, efficient, everything, right? I didn't doubt whatsoever whenever you were diving into and I started noticing about the podcast and everything else you were doing, that you was going to have that same emphasis, that same focus to, something that is, some people it might be for, but the work itself is necessary for people because you never know who needs to hear something the few little things that maybe you were gone through at the time that you were going a hard time, that if they would have listened to that, especially with having access to podcasts and TikTok videos, that's the thing they need to hear to change their lives, you know? So we never know. So I had no doubt that you were going to do an amazing and continue to do an amazing job of the things that you're doing. So I was so hyped whenever I saw you podcast, like, what? That's what I'm talking about. Welcome aboard to the podcast spectrum. But again, these stories for me, anybody that comes here, are very important. I treat them like you're my celebrity, my type of celebrity of a person, because I feel your stories impact the community, and make a difference in people. And not only you, but everybody that comes here, but the things that you do is amazing. So I really, truly do appreciate you very much being here. And without another doubt, Norma, you are a global Latin factor. Thank you for the time and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
This was another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember to subscribe so you can hear more amazing stories. Keep hearing, growing the community here. We're almost at 1,600 followers and growing. And it's all thanks to you for sharing it. And remember, we are just like you. We are human. We are the spice in this melting pot that is the world. Till next time, bus.